How's it going, guys and girls? Hope you guys are having a great week. Alright, so here it is. It's my weekly news video. It's Friday, so it's time for gaming news. So, probably the biggest news article that was out this week was by Nintendo. And in their last Nintendo Direct video, they released information about the next handheld console, and that is the new 3DS. That's it. That is its name. So, my question is this the right move for Nintendo? And that's what this video is going to actually be talking about. Let me just give you a little bit of information about the new 3DS anyway, for those of you that are interested. So this is what we know about the new 3DS so far. So it's going to be released in Japan on the 11th of October this year, but it won't actually be out in Europe and America until 2015. In terms of the price, the new Nintendo 3DS is going to be about 16,000 yen. It's about $154. And the new Nintendo 3DS XL, the large size, that's going to be about 18,800 yen, which is about $181. So what's different about this new 3DS? Well, there's a number of things that they've actually improved in this new handheld console. The first one, which is big because a lot of Nintendo fans and a lot of people that have owned the 3DS have wanted this to appear for a while, and that is the new C-Stick. So for the first time, the 3DS is actually going to have two thumbsticks. The one on the left is a little bit bigger, and the one on the right is a little bit smaller, very reminiscent of kind of the GameCube thumbstick that we had on there. A huge thing with this is the CPU and the RAM on the new 3DS is hugely beefed up. The rumor is that actually the RAM is going to be doubled and that the CPU is actually going to be 3 times faster than it was in the old 3DS. And that will have a huge effect on the console. Obviously, it will make applications and downloading things run a lot smoother, a lot quicker. But it will also mean that this handheld console is going to be able to actually render and run a lot more high-end games and sophisticated games. The screen itself is also going to be improved. It's going to automatically adjust its brightness depending on the lighting. So the actual quality of the image that you're going to see should be much better. Also, this new game's handheld console is going to have a better battery life that we're told. And it's also going to have an improved 3D function. Now, the way this is going to work is it's going to use the camera on the new 3DS as well as the gyro sensors. And with this, it's going to be able to track the player's face. So one of the biggest issues that many people had with the 3DS as it currently stands is that sometimes if you're not sat in the sweet spot, which is kind of in the middle of the screen, the 3D effects can seem very, very blurry. And if you're like me, that means that you feel incredibly queasy. So I own a 3DS, but I hardly ever use the 3D because it doesn't work for me. And sometimes it makes me feel sick. So it'll be good that the new 3DS is actually going to fix that. So hopefully we'll get no blurriness and you will actually be able to see 3D no matter where you're sitting, whether it's square on or to the side, because of this new system. The 3DS is also going to have what's called an NFC reader. This basically is in the bottom screen, and this is going to be used for the new amiibos that Nintendo are creating and developing, especially for games like Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And these amiibos are things that you're going to be able to buy. They kind of look like toys, but they've got chips in them, and they allow you to upload and download this character into your game. It's going to have special stats and save his stats and that kind of thing. Each amiibo is actually going to cost £10.99. That has been revealed by Nintendo. Now, I personally think that is too expensive. I'm not a huge fan of the amiibo system, I will admit that. I'm not a huge fan of things like Disney Infinity. I don't like it. I do not like these kinds of toys that you buy and characters that you have to buy as well as the game. For me, I just think it's a money-making scheme. I think it's a good way for Nintendo to take advantage of parents because their kids are going to want to buy the entire set of these characters, and if each character is going to cost you $10.99, your bank is going to suffer severely. So I just think it's a money-making scheme. I don't really like it. But anyway, that is one thing that this new 3DS does have available. Also, it's going to come with a 4GB micro SD card for more storage. That also will mean that they'll be able to have games on there that's going to take up more memory and space. The new Nintendo 3DS will actually come in different colors. So the plain 3D, or the new Nintendo 3DS, it's going to come in black and white. And the new Nintendo 3DS XL, that's going to come in metallic blue and metallic black. The new 3DS also has colourful revamped face buttons. They're going to be actually in different colours. And there are going to be a number of exclusive titles that have already been revealed, which will be released sometime in 2015. So some of the titles they've released are things like Xenoblade Chronicles, Monster Hunter 4, obviously Super Smash Bros., and also The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I think basically they're going to want to use the new 3DS to play old kind of Wii titles, because now the console, it's capable of playing Wii titles, and it'll be a good way for them just to make money on old titles that they've already created. It doesn't really take too much for them to try to port that to the new 3DS. So that is basically what the new 3DS is, for those of you that haven't heard of it or haven't seen news on it. Now, what is my opinion on it? Do I think it's the right thing for Nintendo to do? Well, for me, I think this actually is a trial that Nintendo are running. And I think it's a test that they're actually using at the moment. Now, they've chosen the 3DS market because it is probably their most stable and most successful market at the moment. The Wii U is not doing great compared to the PS4 and the Xbox One, but the actual Nintendo 3DS, it is in a very, very strong position. It's sold millions of units. It's very, very popular. It has a huge following. So it's a safer business strategy for them to be using this new model to test the market, to see if people are willing to actually invest their money to buy this slightly upgraded new 3DS. Now, I think it's a trial to see if people are willing to do it and how successful it is. And I think if it is incredibly successful on the new 3DS, I think it might possibly lead the way for them to produce a leveled up or an upgraded version of the Wii U. I also think it's kind of going the way of making the 3DS a lot more compatible with the Wii U. If you're increasing its stats and its power, it obviously is going to be able to, hopefully, maybe in the future, play with the Wii U. So you might be able to play your Wii U games remotely, kind of similar to what the PS Vita is actually doing with the PS4. So that's what I think it is. I think it's possibly market research, so to speak, on how successful it's going to be. However, I still think it's a misuse of funding. I still think that the 3DS, yes, it's incredibly successful, but I don't think we need another 3DS. If you actually look at the history of kind of the Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, there's so many versions have been brought out. In 2004, you had the Nintendo DS. 2006, you had the Nintendo DS Lite. 2008, Nintendo DSi. 2009, Nintendo DSi XL. 2011, Nintendo 3DS. 2012, Nintendo 3DS XL. 2013, Nintendo 2DS. There's just been too many versions of this handheld console. I don't think they need to bring out another version. I don't think it's necessary. I think the 3DS is still strong enough on its own. I don't think it needs upgrading. I think that money, that funding, should actually have been invested into the Wii U. Specifically into beefing up the Wii U stats, into making it more powerful, a more powerful CPU, a more powerful RAM, an increase in its storage space. That's what I think Nintendo need to do. I actually think that Nintendo need to create kind of an upgrade for their Wii U, where it is more powerful, and just basically sell it at a slightly higher price. Have it as another box set, another version of the console that you can actually buy. Now, I think if they do that, if they beef up the Wii U, they're going to have a lot more third-party support. I think they'll be more successful in attracting third-party developers. One of the major issues with the Wii U right now is it's too weak compared to the PS4 and the Xbox One, and a lot of developers are not really interested in spending the time to sort of downgrade their game so that it's playable on the Wii U, because obviously when they're developing their game, when they're creating it, they're designing it predominantly for next generation, for the PS4 and the Xbox One, and that runs on a completely different system. It's got a more powerful CPU, it's got more RAM, it's more capable than the Wii U. So they can really push the boundaries on their games. It makes no sense for them to limit what they can do and have an inferior quality game produced like it would be on the Wii U. So I think that's one reason why a lot of third-party developers are not so interested in developing for the Wii U, because it doesn't really show the best quality of what their game can be. Also, it's a little tricky and it's a little difficult to actually design their game to adapt it to be used with the gamepad. I mean, it could be very cool in many ways. For example, the Watch Dogs, for example, could be a great way to use the gamepad to actually hack into things. But it does cost a lot of money, a lot of manpower, a lot of time, and a lot of hassle for them to actually do that. I don't think there's enough incentive. I think a lot of third-party developers are thinking, we're not going to be able to sell enough units to make this financially viable. Most people are probably going to play the PS4 or the Xbox One version because their gaming experience might possibly be better on that, or they want something that's a little bit more powerful, a little bit of better graphics, smoother gameplay, 1080p, 60 frames a second, those kind of things. I think if they do beef up the Wii U and actually increase its stats, I do think that they'll be able to attract more third-party support. If there are more third-party games, I also think they'll get more consumer support for it. The more games there are available on that console, the more third-party support they have, as well as their fantastic first-party titles as well, the longer the shelf life that console is going to have, and the more people are likely to invest in that game's console. So I do not think that we need a new 3DS. I think it's a waste of money for Nintendo. I actually think it's a bad move for Nintendo as a whole. And yeah, I don't think it's a great idea. I think all the new improvements are great, but I just think it's a waste of money for them, and I don't think it's a move that they necessarily need to make. Okay, so those are my ideas on the new 3DS. What do you guys think of the new 3DS? Do you like the look of it? Will you actually buy it? Are you a Nintendo player? Do you already own a 3DS? And what do you think? Do you think this is the right move for Nintendo? Please let me know in the comment section below. Share your thoughts. If you did like this video, guys, please hit that like button to show your support. As always, don't forget to check out the Video Game Network. It's a great place to go and post your videos, get involved with the YouTube community, and just share your love of gaming. Alright, guys and girls, have a great day, and I will catch you later. Take care and happy gaming!